Welcome into another edition of the Patriots Podcast. I'm your host, Beej.com, Beethoven, whatever you want to call me. I'm back. Glad to be back, man. If you know me personally, know anything about what I do for work, then you know why I was gone. I had to go on a field trip, for lack of better words. But I'm back, and what a better time to come back than the Patriots being freaking 10-2. I never saw this coming. My last episodes were prior to the season starting, prior to really like training camp starting. I think my last episode was around like OTA time frame. And I think I was relatively optimistic, relatively positive, hoping for the best, but there was no way I would be a liar if I said I saw this coming. Drake Maye being this good, Josh McDaniels being this good, Mike Vrabel being this good, the team as a whole playing this good. We're going to get into all that, man, but I missed y'all. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back doing this, and, let's get right into it. I got a couple things. I don't think this is going to be a very long episode. I mean, it probably should because I've been gone for so long, but I'm going to try to really just give my quick hit thoughts on the team in a couple of different varieties and then some quick hits around the NFL, and then kind of just talk about the future of the pod and kind of how I think I want to try and do this thing moving forward. So first things first, let's get right into it. Patriots are 10-2 atop the NFL, best record in the NFL, best record in the AFC for now, best record in the AFC East by a long shot. The primary reason for this is the quarterback, Drake Maye. Drake Maye's been playing phenomenal, like MVP levels. If it wasn't for Matthew Stafford, Drake Maye would be the clear front runner for MVP. And that's crazy. I don't think any of us as fans went into this season thinking that was even a possibility. We thought he might get slightly better than what we saw last year. Nobody saw 20-plus touchdowns, only 5 picks, and number one record in the NFL. Nobody saw that coming. Everybody would be a liar. Except for maybe Taylor Kyles, who said the team will win 13 games. But I don't think he knew Drake Maye would be this good. My opinion on Drake Maye, though, however, is that I think he was already this good last year. We saw it, right? The playmaking abilities, the deep pass ability, off-script, off-platform throws. We saw all of that last year. I think the offense was just such crap that it didn't really manifest. He was trying to force things because the play calling was bad, the offense was bad. So I think a lot of his interceptions came from him just trying to like make a play, be a hero. Whereas this year, the offense has a lot more structure. People are actually schemed to be open, and he's making the right call, like making the right throw. And that's proving why, he deserved to be that's what people saw, why he deserved to be the number 3 overall pick, because he always had this talent. He always had this skill. Again, like I said, last year the offense was just so bad that you couldn't really put it on full display. And that's usually what happens when good quarterbacks go to, crappy teams at first. They're not able to really show who they are because the team around them is so bad and, play calling is bad and things of that nature. One thing that remains a constant with Drake Maye, though, is that he starts the game slow, kind of rough. He might be some people say he seems like he's too amped up. He's, floating passes over people, just kind of off at the beginning of the games. And then once he gets his legs under him, it's full steam ahead. And he's, like I said, MVP Drake Maye. So it's kind of a concern, especially when you get into the playoffs and you mess around for too long in games early on, and now you find yourself in a 2-score deficit. And it's hard to overcome that in the playoffs against, really good teams. I do believe he is a legit MVP candidate. Again, like I said, if it wasn't for Matthew Stafford, he would be the front runner. Matthew Stafford is playing out of his mind, which, in my biased opinion, Matthew Stafford should be playing like this. He's 40 years old. He's got the best offensive mind in the league calling plays. He's got Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. He should play like this, right? He's got all the tools to play like this. It's kind of like when Brady went to Tampa Bay, right? But you can't deny the stats. I think it's more impressive what Drake Maye is doing. And again, I'm biased, but I think it is more impressive what he's doing because he's younger The team is not as good. It's a new system, new OC, new head coach, new players, everything. And he's playing the way he's playing. So I'd give it to Drake Maye. If the season progressed exactly how it's going and they stayed on their exact trajectory and the numbers are the numbers, obviously you got to give it to Stafford. Me personally, I think it's more impressive what Drake Maye is doing given experience, team built, yada, yada. One question I do have about Drake Maye, however, is this his ceiling? Like, is this as good as Drake Maye will ever be? Or can he get better than this? Because if he can get better than this, that's crazy, right? Like, I don't even know what to expect. And I think people said the same thing about Brady in 2007. Like, holy crap. Like, can he be better than what he just put, like 50 touchdowns, right, in a season, undefeated season? Can Brady get better than that? And he never did quite that again, but you would be a fool to say that Brady didn't get better at quarterbacking post 2007, right? Brady was probably at the peak of his powers between like 2012 to like 2016, I would say. It was like his best run at just straight up quarterbacking. So as good as this season has been for Drake Maye and will probably continue to be, I wonder, can he get any better than this at the small things, right? Like not sailing those throws at the beginning of the game, not taking so many sacks, trying to hold on to the ball, taking the check down, taking what the defense gives him. Little small things like that will probably make him so much better than what he already is, and he's already playing phenomenal. So I that's just a question that I personally have, and I'm not saying that he can't. And if this is his ceiling and he plays like this for the next 15 years, then that's still amazing, right? We're going to be really good if he does that. But I just wonder if it's possible that he can get better. And if he can, the rest of the league, y'all should be worried because the Patriots are going to be good again for another 20 years if this kid can get better. So that's just my, quick hit thoughts on the quarterback. Again, Drake Maye's playing phenomenal. Didn't see this coming, but I thought he was this good. After that Raiders game, I'm not going to lie. You can ask anybody. After that Raiders game, I was mad. I was like, oh, man, like, Mike Vrabel don't know what he's doing. Josh McDaniels, same old system. Drake Maye still got the same problems, blah, 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 blah. All of them shut me up immediately. So I'm glad about that. I'm glad the quarterback is doing what he's doing. Let's get into another player that I talked about before, but I have to revisit, and that is Stefon Diggs. I couldn't be more happy with the impact that Stefon Diggs has brought on this team. In my previous videos, I mentioned that just him as a vet and a successful vet would bring, a lot of pressure on the other players in that room, some of which who aren't there anymore, and we can talk about that. Some of which who aren't there anymore, but bring pressure for everybody else to do better because he's going to get his. And that has been the case. He's our leading receiver. He's ahead of Hunter Henry. He's ahead of Kayshon Boutte. He's ahead of Pop Douglas. Everybody's got the most yards. Doesn't have the most touchdowns, but he's got a few. But he's our leading receiver. And what I didn't see coming was the leadership aspect. Him, hyping everybody up before the game, having handshakes with everybody. They had a mic'd up with Josh McDaniels, and Stefon Diggs came over and said, hey, is there anything you need me to echo, to the group? And that's leadership. That's, hey, I'm going to go talk to the coach and see what's on the coach's mind. And sometimes the players don't want to hear that shit from the coach. They would rather hear it from their teammate. So for him to go over and say, hey, what are you thinking about? What's going on? Is there anything you want me to go tell the guys from coming straight from you? That's leadership. And that's one thing I didn't expect to come from Stefon Diggs. And I know we haven't reached the time frame but that people say normally happens with Stefon Diggs, where he feels like he's not getting the ball enough and the team's losing and he's getting frustrated. Man, he starts, bitching and complaining. But we haven't got there yet. And I hope we don't. But yeah, I mean, there's not much more I can say about Stefon Diggs and his impact on this team, on this wide receiver room. He's literally a glue guy. I'm hopeful that he can pick back up on that production and get another 1,000 yards. So Stefon Diggs 1,000-yard season with the Patriots would be phenomenal, right? I got to go get the jersey at that point. Probably the Nor'easter rivalry jerseys because those the most hard. But that's what I feel about Stefon Diggs. Of course, we got to talk about number 4 overall pick Will Campbell, our first round pick this year. Hopefully, bad news came from this game this past Sunday. He, potential MCL sprain or tear. I think it's a sprain. He might be out for a couple weeks, but hopefully he can come back for the playoffs. Don't need to spend too much time on him. I mean, we don't say his name that much on a weekly basis, so that means he's doing a good job, right? He's not getting beat crazy. He's pretty good at run blocking. Solid left tackle. I have no complaints on Will Campbell. Let's get into Josh McDaniels, offensive coordinator for the third time. People had their questions. They didn't know if he was going to bring that old Brady offense, the same offense he's been running, or if he would be able to adapt. Me personally, I had a feeling he would have to adapt to Drake Maye and adapt his offense because of the other hires that Vrabel made, specifically Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown comes from the Sean McVay tree, and that tree is very versatile when it comes to offense. And I feel like Josh McDaniels, I'm not going to say leans on Thomas Brown because Josh McDaniels is the obvious and clear genius in the room out of everybody in there. But I think having somebody like a Thomas Brown in the room that can say, hey, man, on film we tried this and it's not working. We got this player and he might be able to use this concept from something that I ran either in Chicago or while I was with McVay. Let's try it at practice. And it's a respectable person, so Josh McDaniels will probably listen, try it, and see that it works with the personnel, kind of like the toss cracks or the outside runs with Travion Henderson, which has been another bright spot in the offense. Can't say enough about Travion Henderson. He might go for 1,000 yards. I don't know, but crazy. Like, started off slow, but he's super picked it up, and I think that he deserves to be the starter over Ramondre, point blank period. But back to McDaniels, I think he's proven, though, that he is a top 5 like OC of like all time. I know he had Brady for the bulk of everything, but we got to bring in the Mac Jones year, and now we got to bring in the potential Drake Maye MVP year with him at the helm. And I think he's proven to be a top 5 coordinator of all time. Regardless of what he was as a head coach, as an offensive coordinator, the man is a genius. The man knows how to scheme things. He knows how to, the exact opposite of the offense. He knows how to set things up, and he's not, putting everything out there. If there's plays he's probably got in his pocket, and he's like, man, this would have worked here, but we don't need to show nobody this yet because we're going to need it. His mind goes like that. So I think that he will pull his punches on some things in order to be able to use it in January because that's what he's used to having to do. So completely, satisfied with play calling from Josh McDaniels. There's been a couple of games where he's actually really just been in his bag on certain series where it's just play after play of just genius play calling to inevitably set up a touchdown pass or something. It's a beautiful thing to watch. It's no different than watching McVay, Shanahan, Kevin O'Connell, all these guys that, the tight pants guys that are good at play calling. Watching Josh McDaniels do what he do is no different from watching those guys. And in some instances, it could even be better. I think the only people that maybe have him beat are Shanahan and McVay. I think that even Andy Reid and Josh McDaniels might be on par, honestly. But we can move on now to the defense. First of all, prayers for Big T, defensive coordinator. He has cancer, so prayers up to him. Hope he gets well soon. That's definitely more important than anything football related. So prayers up for Big T, defensive coordinator, New England Patriots. With that being said, Zach Kerr stepped into the role as the defensive coordinator, and I personally don't feel like Mike Vrabel's that mad at that. Like, I think kind of like ideally, that's probably what Mike Vrabel would want. That's like his little protege. Um, I don't think he's doing a bad job. I think, they play a lot more soft zone than I would like. They try to keep everything in front of them. And I don't know if it has something to do with the way they got burned in that first game against the Raiders. But we got Carlton Davis and we got Christian Gonzalez. We need to be playing more press man, personally. But, excuse me. I don't really have too much to say on the defense. Again, like I said, the pass rush has been okay, about what I would expect with the personnel that we have. Milton Williams has been amazing. Now he's also hurt. He's on IR. Christian Barmore has been pretty good next to him, but it could be better, and they should be able to start getting home with 4. But I think that comes with they need some help from the coverage, and I think if you got press man coverage, that's going to help the pass rush get home with Carlton Davis and Gonzalez. Marcus Jones, who got an extension, one of the highest paid slot corners in the league. I think he's an all-pro, and I know I don't think they have a slot for like all-pro slot corner. I'm not sure, but he should have one, and he should be an all-pro for his contributions on the defense and special teams. Like, that guy is an all-pro football player. So far, he's the only all-pro on the defense that I can see. Robert Spillane's playing really well. He started off slow. Gonzo, he's playing okay, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like the effort is all the way there right now with Gonzo. Carlton Davis has been better than what the internet would try to tell you. He has like one call a game, and I mean, like, as a corner, that kind of stuff happens. Like, would you rather give up a pass interference or a touchdown? You know what I'm saying? But other than that, especially this last game against Cincinnati, he single-handedly like won the game on that last drive for us with like 3 PBUs in one drive. So that's the Carlton Davis. That's why you sign him, because he can do things like that. And a lot of times he gets hosed on a lot of those calls. Like, it's pit-a-pat. So I think Carlton Davis has been a lot better than what the internet would try to tell you. Let's get into the head coach and, the organization overall, right? So Robert Kraft made a decision to fire Gerard Mayo after 1 year and hire Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel had coaching experience, so a lot of people were a little more excited about that than Gerard Mayo, me included. I was a little skeptical, but I think he's proven to be what Gerard Mayo was trying to be, like a player's coach, a locker room guy, like saw the players as like people and not just like, I'm your boss, blah, 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 like Bill probably would have did. But the difference between Vrabel and Mayo is that Vrabel's knowledge of the game and coaching experience is also on full display, instead of just him being cool with the players. He can be as cool with the players as he wants to be, but he's also a great coach when it comes to the X's and O's, game situations, all those kind of things. Mike Vrabel has that going for him, along with John Stryker. And the two of them, make people believe in the operation a lot more than what Gerard Mayo did. So I think that's the most important thing, along with Elliot Wolf and Ryan Cowden and Vrabel coming together to really revamp this roster. It's like a 50% turnover on this roster of players that left and new players that came in. This team almost looks like a completely different team in a lot of areas, and I'm not mad at that. When you're 4-13 over 2 years, those players probably shouldn't be here. And we had our reservations about some of the players that left, like Jabril Peppers. Wasn't too mad about Kyle Duggar leaving, Keon White, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker. All these players, new players, not even more than 3 years played. Javon Baker and Jalen Polk were drafted last year. Gone. Mike Vrabel wasn't playing around, and he said, look, I understand what y'all did here before, but I'm bringing guys that I trust in, and we're going to start this thing from the ground up, and that has contributed to the team being 10-2. Again, crazy, right? I think he's easily the coach of the year. and you can call me biased. That's fine. I think he's the coach of the year. You don't take a 4-13 team and turn them around to a current 10-2. Probably are going to end the season at worst 13-4. At worst. Only see 2 potential losses on their schedule, and that's Ravens and that's the Bills, and they could easily beat both of them as well. So there's a chance that I don't see another loss on the schedule. But you don't turn that team around and not win Coach of the Year, in my opinion. That's crazy, right? I don't know if Dan Quinn won Coach of the Year last year. Let me look that up. Sorry. Oh, no. So it was Kevin O'Connell that won Coach of the Year last year, which is understandable. Dan Quinn, Dan Campbell, Andy Reid were nominees. I think that it if you want to say Sean McVay because of what the Rams are doing, that's fine. But I think it's Vrabel. And you can call me biased. I don't really care. I'm a Patriots fan. It's the Pats Rap Podcast. I'm going to be pro-Patriots. I'm not like some of the other Patriots media guys. But yeah, easy Coach of the Year candidate. If I had a vote, he'd have my vote. Let's talk about the AFC in its totality, right? Let's kind of take it off of the Patriots for a little bit and just outlook on the AFC. No one in the AFC scares you, and that includes the Patriots. They're beatable. There's no powerhouse team that's, unbeatable like the Chiefs have been over the past couple of years, or the Bills have appeared over the past couple of years. Everybody's beatable. Everybody has flaws. The Chiefs might not even make the playoffs. The Bills might not even make the playoffs. So it's wide open. This is the perfect year for the Patriots to try and go make a Super Bowl run because the AFC is wide ass open. The Ravens will probably end up winning that division, but they have not looked great up until Lamar came back. So there's that. But no one scares you. Everyone's beatable. There's no powerhouse. There's probably not going to be a blowout in the playoffs or anything like that. I don't think the Chiefs make it. I think the teams ahead of them are on an upward trajectory. And yeah, they're about to start getting into divisional games, but I think the Broncos beat the Chiefs again. I think the Texans keep winning. I think the Chargers can keep winning a couple games. Ravens. It's going to be hard for the Chiefs to get in. And I know they just beat the Colts, but they still on the outside looking in. I hate using this terminology, but I think the Bills' Super Bowl window might be closed or closing. I don't think Josh Allen's best years are behind him, but I don't know what they're going to do as far as that team is constructed, coaching staff, because if you fire the coach and get a new coach, a new OC and all things, now you're kind of starting over. And now you have to try to go and find the correct personnel to match Josh Allen. I don't know if the Bills are going to be able to do that within Josh Allen's prime years because he puts a lot on himself, a lot on his body. He gets hit a lot. And eventually he's going to start wearing down. So, again, nobody's window's ever closed because they said that about the Patriots for a long time. But as teams like the Broncos and the Patriots and the Texans and Ravens and all these teams start getting better, it's going to be harder for the Bills to control their destiny in the AFC. So, I know Cam Newton said that the Patriots are fool's gold because of our easy schedule. I don't really want to get into that, man. I love Cam Newton as a football player. I hate Cam Newton as a media member. His show's not great. He's not really great on TV, but whatever. I think the team that's fool's gold is the Broncos. I think they've had to do some miraculous shit to win some of these games. And that is not sustainable going into the playoffs. That defense is sustainable, but that quarterback play being that bad and having to really pull some shit out of his ass every time in the fourth quarter to win the game, I don't know if that's sustainable in today's NFL. Um, I think they're the real fool's gold. I mean, they got some good wins on their record because they did beat the Chiefs, but you could say the same thing about the Patriots. The Patriots beat Tampa Bay and they beat the Bills. So I think if anyone is fool's gold, it's the Broncos, even more so than the Colts. And I think both of them have subpar quarterback play. And yeah. Let's move over to the NFC. Like I've been saying, Matthew Stafford and the Rams are scary. I wouldn't be shocked if they steamroll to the Super Bowl and if we got another Rams-Patriots Super Bowl for the third time. Funny enough, I think that if that happens, I think Vrabel should reach out to Belichick for some advice because Belichick has been able to make the Rams offense in 2 different iterations look completely broken. So if Bill would be willing to help, Vrabel should reach out to Belichick if, it came down to Rams and Patriots Super Bowl. Only other team that scares you in the NFC realistically is the Eagles because they're the champs. But that offense is broken. I don't know if Sirianni needs to take over play calling or what, but that offense is broken, and I don't think Jalen Hurts looks any worse than he ever did. I think they just can't get it going. And, obviously Saquon's not having the year he had last year, and that helped a lot, but they really can't get it going. Yeah, it's really all I got on the NFC. I think it's a lot of okay teams, but nobody that really scares you outside of the Rams and maybe the Eagles because they were the champs. So the Patriots play in primetime again this upcoming week of football. They play Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football against the Giants. The Giants are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. I think they're the second team. I think Tennessee was first, and now the Giants are mathematically eliminated. So I don't know how much they have to play for. And obviously Brian Daboll got fired. Jackson Dart is hurt. Malik Neighbors is hurt. Cam Scatterbo is hurt. I think Jackson Dart can come back for this game, but as a franchise, I mean, I guess if you want to just get him the reps, but if you don't really have anything to play for outside of pride, the organization probably needs to start thinking about the draft, right? And so I don't know kind of how they're going to come out and play this against us in prime time. I don't think that the Patriots have any chance of losing per se, but just about how competitive the game could potentially be. They gave the Lions a run for their money this last game. Jameis Winston was doing some of the craziest shit I ever seen in my life. The man caught a touchdown pass to where he caught a pass and ran and like Heisman stiff-armed a defensive player as a quarterback. And Jameis Winston was wilding. But I don't know, like I said, now that they lost that game and, hard-fought game, came out with an L. They gave up, another fourth-quarter comeback. Where, as an organization, could they be, right? Are they ready to pack it in? And that's never the players. It's always the front office that is like, okay, let's pack this in. If we got players that are a little bit hurt, put them on IR. Just little moves that show you that they're tanking, right? I think that'll determine what kind of game we get. I know it has to stay on prime time, but it's probably not going to be a great prime time game. I mean, we should really steamroll them. They have a really good D-line, so that could cause some pressure on Drake Maye. But I think, especially with our injuries, because I didn't mention it, but we lost Will Campbell and we lost Jared Wilson, our whole left side of the line. So we're going to have players that don't normally playing on the left side of the line. So I'm sure the Giants will attack that, and I'm sure Josh McDaniels will do what he has to do to make sure that, those players have help on that side, tight end chips, running back chips, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I think Jackson Dart shouldn't play, but I honestly think the game plan is easier against Jackson Dart. I know he can run, but I think at this point in time, Jameis Winston is probably better overall than Jackson Dart. you never know what you're going to get from Jameis, but I think Jackson Dart's a rookie, and he's already been hurt. He's missing his best players. You know, I think that's a recipe for a disaster going up against a Mike Vrabel defense. So that's really all I got. Patriots, Eagles in primetime, Monday Night Football. Yeah. And that's kind of all I got. I mean, I know I was a lot of what I was saying was kind of recent. I know I missed a lot of time, and I could have did a lot of time recapping the season in its entirety, but I didn't really feel the need to do that. You know, I just kind of wanted to pick up from what's going on. I didn't want to bore you guys to death with, going game by game analysis. I'm just happy to be back. Happy that my team is good again. All my friends are hating because the team is good again. Happy about Drake Maye and Tommy Curran. I don't know if you're going to ever see this, but I haven't forgotten that you wanted J.J. McCarthy instead of Drake Maye, and he arguably is the worst quarterback in the league. So just to throw that out there. Sorry, Nate. My boy Nate, the Vikings fan. Sorry about that. But that's really all I got. I'm glad to be back, glad to be home. I don't really know kind of the future of the pod. I want to say I'm going to keep doing it weekly, but I can imagine I might be a little bit busy. But if nothing else, you guys will get an episode at least once a month. I can promise that. And if it's more, urgent news or things like that, I can do some, breaking pod stuff, maybe some shorts, TikTok videos, Instagram reels, things like that. But I have fun doing this, so it's not like I don't want to. I just, life. But thank you guys for tuning in. Patriots Podcast. Next episode, I'll have some music recommendations for you guys. I ain't really been listening to like anything like new. Honestly, I've really been in my like old school R&B bag. I ain't gonna lie. So thank you guys for tuning in. Beach, Beethoven, whatever you want to call me. Patriots Podcast signing out.